website that was a guy was selling his personal video store collection, meaning this guy had a video store where all of his neighbors could come and pick whatever movie they wanted. We went down there and it was this incredible wall of movies just like this. Tapes like this, very simple, had the title on this, like this one, Night Train to Terror. So this one I found at a thrift store. That right there is the brand,
the Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray.
Yeah. So there is a lot. This movie has become a cult favorite. I've seen it on the big screen. I've seen it on the little screen. It is something else.
Come on and dance with me, dance with me. Dance with me, dance with me. Come on and dance with me, dance with me.
The movie itself, Night Train to Terror, is
3 different movies with a wraparound segment.
Yes, it's 3 different movies, but it's so much more. It's 3 full-length movies that were discarded or never completed or
just given a bad shape.
It's 3 complete movies that are condensed into one because one writer's kid wanted to star in a movie. This thing happened because one kid wanted to be in an MTV music video.
We're just going off of what an IMDb review said.
Yeah, so that could also be a lie. But anyway, what is the truth is that this movie is made out of 3 movies, and the first movie that we watched today
was makes up the middle segment of the movie. It goes by many titles. On video, most commonly it's known as Death Wish Club. There was also a release under the title Carnival of Fools,
right,
and a few other titles, but it is included as a bonus feature on this Blu-ray of Night Train to Terror under the title of Greta.
I was not expecting any of these to be good movies. When we decided to watch all of the movies that are in Night Train to Terror.
Nearly all the movies.
Nearly all of them. Okay, so there's one that we didn't see, but so far it's seemed impossible to watch, so we've just kind of left that one out.
That one's called Scream Your Head Off, and it might have had a DVD or VHS release. Maybe. I don't know.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
If you guys can find it, please let us know how it is.
I bet there's one on eBay, and it is not worth the money that's asking for.
The $300 that it is. Anyway, so Greta is kind of an incredible movie.
In a weird way.
In a weird, dirty, sleazy way. This movie that ended up as just one of 3 stories in an anthology movie, it's actually a full, fleshed out movie that's weird and disturbing and
at times amusing and funny.
The movie starts out with
this rich dude.
A rich asshole.
Georgie.
Yeah. And he's talking about how he doesn't want to be loved, but he wants to love. Or he wants somebody to love him, but he doesn't want to love anybody else.
I think you got it backwards.
I don't... It's so confusing. Something like that. But basically, he sees a girl that's selling popcorn, and he starts shoving $100 bills into her bra. And then eventually, they kind of get together and...
Make pornos.
Make a lot of pornos, which this strapping young blonde college student, he happens to see one of the pornos in a stag party and decides he's fucking in love with this girl, because why not? So he goes on a quest and he starts searching high and low for where this girl is so he can talk to her, and immediately runs into the sleazy rich guy who goes up to him and is like, "You're not gonna want any piece of that."
But he's gonna give it the old college try.
Yeah, he wants to save her because she's wild and she needs to be tamed. And this movie takes a lot of twists and turns that I was not expecting, especially from the segment in Night Train to Terror. Basically, we get the nice, mild-mannered guy that tries to save his girlfriend or the girl that he wants, and he has to go through all these things. And at one point, she changes gender and becomes Charlie. But yeah, there's that whole Charlie segment. But in Night Train to Terror, all we see is one scene where the lead girl is dressed as Charlie.
You're charged to think you might see me blow out before you bury up.
I hope you get it. I really hope you get it.
And it's never explained, and it's completely glossed over. And that just adds to the charm of the movie. The rest of Greta is
not really a horror movie.
No. The only horror elements of the movie are what was basically taken to make the one segment in Night Train to Terror. And there's a couple of scenes where we have a group of people that are they're into dying horribly in some way. So they're a death cult. And so they're all sitting around and they all experience the same thing. And of course, Greta's into it and she's super turned on by it because, wow, I'm really into that. Ooh, that kinky shit. Yeah. So we get a scene where a super poisonous bug, like in Night Train to Terror, comes out and flies around the room, and we get all these like crazy shots around the room. It's gonna land on me. And then it lands on somebody. The only difference, or the main difference, I should say, is in this film, it is a super elaborate, I guess you could say, stop motion claymation bug, and it's big, and it has big wings, and
it looks really silly looking.
It looks very silly, and it's huge. But in Greta, which is the original film, which is the full film, it is just a bug. It looks like a bug, and it looks very realistic, and
except for when they're dragging it along on a string for some shots.
Yeah, there are.
But it looks better than a claymation, whatever you call it.
Yep. And so that's, I think, right then is where we started realizing the differences in Night Train to Terror throughout the rest of the movie and all of the rest of the movies. There's a theme of just kind of pumping it up with stop motion animation. We get another scene of the death cult with a huge
concrete ball,
wrecking ball that lands on one of them. I'm not going to say who. I don't want to ruin it.
There's also an electric chair scene that is made more intense in the Night Train to Terror edit.
Yes.
But aside from that, Greta is essentially I don't know, like a grindhouse take on a Woody Allen movie. That's what I'm gonna essentially describe it as.
There is those few scenes of the death cult, and it is very intense, but for the most part, it's just a guy trying to fall in love with this woman.
And then a hijinks that ensue. And
that's what happens in the end. I'm not really ruining anything, but it kind of works out well for them. And
also the ending of Greta is the middle of the Night Train to Terror portion.
Yeah, it was very jarring to see that after we watched Greta, and then to see how it's just completely cut and changed, and then it goes straight to God and the devil. Oh yeah, we should say that this film and its wraparound parts have God and the devil bargaining
over souls.
And
that's part of the magic of Night Train to Terror.
Yes.
But at this point, we had watched Greta, and we had no way of watching the other movie, but the last movie, there is an abundance of availability on the third segment
Yes.
of Night Train to
So
Terror.
back to the second movie, though. That one is, so the alternate titles to that one are Marilyn Alive and in Prison, or
Alive Behind Bars.
Alive Behind Bars.
Yeah.
So it seems like some sort of exploitation Marilyn Monroe movie.
Is it?
Maybe?
I don't know.
Marilyn Alive Behind Bars. So if anyone has seen that movie, please let us know. But anyway,
Or Scream Your Head Off, which I'm assuming is a completely different can of worms.
but
plot-wise.
in Night Train to Terror, basically it's a crazy
Women in
fucking-
Prison movie.
women in prison, insane asylum, really
Gore fest.
disgusting, weird.
No!
It doesn't fit, just like everything doesn't fit in this movie. But yes, the third segment, we found some stuff.
Mm-hmm. And its most commonly known title is The Nightmare Never Ends. But it also goes by the title of Cataclysm and Satan's Supper, which is the tape I have it under. I bothered to watch both cuts of this movie. Nick, fortunately, only watched The Nightmare Never Ends.
Oh, show the side of this one too.
Yeah.
So we have the same shot on the side
Of
this.
the woman stabbing with the scissors and it's on the side here, and that was my first indication that maybe this is actually just The Nightmare Never Ends.
And also this one says that it is award winning.
Yes, from the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films. I think that's the Saturn Festival. I'm not sure.
Maybe
I'm not even sure what it won.
Maybe it did win something. But basically, this film is about.
There's a lot of ties to the actual wraparound plot of Night Train to Terror. About,
which is helpful.
God and Satan and good versus evil and morality and but I find The Nightmare Never Ends to be a very kind of meh horror movie.
It's really a vehicle for Cameron Mitchell.
You know, you got some kind of a fix on that guy. He hasn't done a damn thing.
I know. I know where it is. I know.
Cameron Mitchell, who had sloshed his way through many B movies at that point, but Faith Clift, it's on the tape here at the bottom here.
Faith
Clift, I believe, is the real star being driven by this exploding car.
Okay, so yeah, this movie is absolutely a slowly exploding car from beginning to end. So we have Cameron Mitchell as a drunken police detective
yeah.
that he's not in the right precinct, so he can't help you, but he's gonna work on finding the devil. And we have Faith Clift, who was married to the writer.
Mm-hmm.
Of all of these films.
Everything we're talking about, he wrote everything, apparently.
So here's another major difference, and I know we're jumping all over the place, but in this film, which we just watched, she is awful. And she is in it a lot. She is so bad. The worst actress I've ever seen. When in the segment, in Night Train to Terror, she's great. She's fine.
The magic of dubbing.
The magic of dubbing saved her performance. This guy right here, we find out that he's been living throughout the centuries as different evil
people.
He's been a Nazi.
Mainly German evil people.
Yeah. World War II. World War
I.
There's
the Weimar Republic. The Franco-Prussian War, you know.
It's very similar to the segment in here. There's a lot that, like you were saying, there's a lot that
there's a lot that's actually retained plot-wise between Nightmare Never Ends and Night Train to Terror.
Yeah.
But the difference is they cut out a lot of extraneous kind of stuff involving Faith Cliff.
Thank God.
And segments involving nightmares and...
Yeah, it's really just stuff that, we didn't really
I think
need
a whole
anyway.
murder is missing in the Night Train to Terror cut. Some scenes end up differently.
Yes, and that's what we were talking about earlier. As far as changing scenes around and making scenes different, there is a lot more claymation in this one as well.
Yeah.
A lot more stop motion animation. Like, we get a character at one point, the monk character, who is introduced, and he's like, I know that there's evil in the world, and he's helping. He helps Cameron Mitchell at one point. Peppino the monk, who knows all about evil and he knows all about the devil. And at one point in the movie, he is confronting one of the demons of whatever, and he gets kind of flung out the door, and he ends up just going out.
He gets, like, dragged out to sea by this demonic wind.
In this movie, he is just dragged out to sea, and it's pretty creepy. And it's like, oh, that's terrifying. He gets dragged out to sea. In Night Train to Terror,
he gets dragged out to the beach, where he turns into a claymation figure, and a demonic clay scorpion king emerges from hell, grabs him, and throws him into a pit of fire.
A pit of fire opens up on the beach. The demon scorpion grabs him, and already he's one of the sympathetic characters, and just drops him into hell on the beach. Why they thought that had to be in the
subtle
movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was insane. The choices that they made for Night Train to Terror are insane.
Crazy things that happen in this movie are fleshed out and a lot more frightening, or jarring at least, than they are in The Nightmare Never Ends. Mainly, the most threatening person in this movie is the rather attractive face of evil.
Yes, the devil.
The devilishly handsome.
Who, in this film, his name is Morlock, right?
I don't know if that's his real name.
Or Moloch. Something like that.
He goes by many names.
I go by many names. And, yeah, he's very creepy in this movie. He does a great job. He's like an evil, kind of Malcolm McDowell kind of character. And he is really creepy.
Throughout, he has a bunch of demonic minions and, like, creatures, or... he turns into stuff, but you can never really tell what any of it is in the Nightmare Never Ends cut.
No.
Sometimes
it's a cobra.
Sometimes it's like a snake head. Sometimes it's like a...
There's a bat head. At one point, he's dancing around with a huge bat face.
He like turns into like a kaiju, but like, not like a giant kaiju, just like a guy in a kaiju suit, just kind of wiggling around in like this red filter.
It doesn't. It never makes sense.
Yeah.
What he's changing into. In this one,
sometimes it's a claw in a walk-in closet.
Oh yes, that is another change from this film to this one. There is a very scary scene where Faith
Cliff's character.
Faith Cliff. She gets locked in a closet at one point, trying to escape the devil. And
the devil emerges
starts
from the wall.
Yeah, but it's in this film. It's just one single like claw that looks like one of those grabbers that seniors have to get things,
like a gopher.
Yeah, so it's just a creepy claw that comes out of the wall. In Night Train to Terror, it's like 4 zombies come out of a wall and start grabbing for her.
And then, like, it does, like, a Nightmare on Elm Street rotating room kind of gag where she's, like, floating in midair, grabbing onto this door handle for dear life while these zombies are coming out of the floor.
So it's kind of insane, the lengths they went to add...
To jazz up this kind of, very, very kind of a horror movie.
Very not.
Everything that kind of happens has been done in better movies. All the intriguing elements are mainly like, oh, he was a Nazi at one point. Oh, there's a Nazi hunter that's hunting him. Oh no. Now Cameron Missile has to make the connections. Oh, there's this guy who wrote a book, Richard Mall.
Yes,
Great
that's
character
another
actor, Richard Mall.
very good element of this film. We have Richard Mall as the writer, the guy who has written a book called God is Dead.
I propose to build a culture upon the premise that God is dead. For my part, he never existed. And if the Christian God is dead, so it is with all other gods. There is no supreme being. We are alone.
And the evil guy, the devil in this movie, is really happy about that. And he's like, he's not even one of us. And he's making our job easier. And so that's very after school special kind of thing. But still, it's good because Richard Mall is great. He's also great in
another segment in Night Train to Terror, which is the first segment.
Yes. All of these movies are connected by one man, and that's
Philip Jordan.
Philip Jordan, and all we can do is thank this man for patching 3 films together and somehow making it into one of the most bizarre movies ever made.
You know, these movies are but they really shine when they're all compiled in Night Train to Terror.
Right.
And, you know, okay, we're talking about Night Train to Terror. Where's the train? What's the train about? These movies have nothing to do with trains. Well, the train is the wraparound segment in this movie.
Yes.
Where we talked about earlier that God and Satan are at war over people's souls. They're doing that on a train. And on that train is also a dance and music troupe. Yeah.
A music troupe that is dancing to one of the most catchy songs ever created. And everybody's got something to do.
Everybody but you.
Principal is working hard, making moves. Everybody's got something to do. Everybody but you. Yeah, come on and dance with me, dance with me. Dance with me. Come on, baby, dance with me.
So that the lead dancer, we found out once again, is the son
of Philip Jordan.
Philip Jordan. Yes. So we have this movie because of him.
God and Satan are well portrayed.
Yeah, by themselves, as in the credits.
Yep. God was played by himself, and the devil was played by Lou Cypher.
Yes. I think what we learned out of this movie, this is a great movie. Number one, Night Train to Terror.
I mean, it's not a good movie, but
it's not a great movie.
It's a great movie.
It's a movie that you should see before you die.
Yeah.
Because it's incredible and weird.
You get demons
and terrible.
Yeah.
But what we got out of this movie, what we got out of Night Train to Terror was
Greta and Satan's Supper and The Nightmare Never Ends.
Yes. I think what we really got out of this movie was Greta. That's the great movie that we found
by going down this rabbit hole.
Yes. So Greta is weird and unlike any movie I've ever seen, and like you said, it's like a Woody Allen movie, but
Grindhouse
with dirty grindhouse sleaze mixed into it. So if anything, I think people should watch Greta. Also watch this movie because it's just insane.
You can find Greta decisions.
This is a quilt of bad decision making. It's 3 different, completely different movies made by the same people that went nowhere, and in this film, all 3 of those movies combined made this madness, and it still lives on because people love this movie. Oh, we have to talk about what else is on
We
the
could
tape.
have watched that tape.
We
could
could
have
have.
watched the Blu-ray even.
We could
but
have.
Since this is tapes from the pile, we watched this tape that he decided to record Night Train to Terror. Maybe he hadn't watched it at the time. I'd imagine if he had known what it was, he wouldn't have recorded this tape. I imagine it was sourced from the prison tape. I can't imagine a cable company showing Night Train to Terror on late night cable.
Well, that's my question, because this movie had 2 other movies on it. After all the madness.
We discovered yet another movie.
Yes, a full movie.
An
entire movie.
Yes, it was fit on the rest of this tape. The movie is called Screen Test. It is a 1980s sex comedy.
Do not watch this movie.
Screen Test, the story of 4 guys with just one thing on their minds.
God, does that girl have a great body? Where do they get these girls? I always wonder, why don't I meet girls like that? How do they get these girls to do this stuff? To get in the movie. People will do anything.
Screen Test.
We watched maybe 40 minutes of it, 30 minutes.
This movie is an abomination.
And then fast forwarded through it.
Yeah, this movie is not for human consumption. It is basically the story of
Horny frat bros
trying
to get into the porno industry.
No, they're just pretending that they're making a porno so they can get laid.
I think the story develops.
And then the story develops, and then they start making pornos, and it is gross. Don't watch that. I feel bad just talking about it. I think it's deplorable, and let's move on to the next movie.
The Siskel and Ebert bit was funny.
Okay, yeah, the Siskel and Ebert bit was okay. But,
Sneak preverts.
But okay, yeah, sneak preverts.
We fast forward through that, and
was terrible.
another movie started.
Jackie Chan's The Protector.
The James Glickenhaus action movie, re-edited for American audiences. The Protector. I think it's
the
like
classic.
His
first
kind of Americanized role.
Yeah, before
Like Rumble in the Bronx. and all that.
Yeah, with Danny Aiello, which is great. But so we had those 2 movies. Well, not all
of Protector.
but
I don't know how long it went, but like till the end of the tape, it's The Protector.
Yeah,
essentially.
But we made it through yet another movie from the pile. So now we only have
180 to go.
180. Only 180 more to go.
Probably more.
Something like that. That was Night Train to Terror.
Tapes from the pile.
Highly recommend Night Train to Terror. Soft recommend on Nightmare Never Ends.
If you're a nerd like us, you'll probably see it at some point. Either way,
you'll find it somewhere.
Greta,
very big. I would say
way to find it is on this Blu-ray.
Two sleazy Siskel and Ebert parody thumbs up for Greta, which I thought was weird and out there and unlike any other movie I've ever seen, and I think people should seek it out, if only to see what one segment of an insane movie can blossom into.
Also, there's a lot more nudity. So
yeah. Oh my God.
If you're
there's
not into
so much nudity.
If you're not into that, there's a lot more nudity in the Greta cut.
And I'm not just talking boobs. There's butts.
Mm-hmm.
There is like male buns, and it's great. Okay, seek out Greta. Night Train to Terror, a great movie. Thank you for watching yet another reviews of Tapes from the Pile.